Hi, this is Remembering the Past, the show where we talk about people who've died recently who've had a profound effect on our history, our society, or our culture. Tonight, to introduce our subject, we're going to use a brief sketch from Biography.
Her career spanned Hollywood's heyday from the earliest talkies to the dawn of television. While still a toddler, she appeared in a series of film shorts called Baby Burlesque, where she played a femme fatale in diapers. A few years later, she charmed moviegoers with silly songs and gleeful tap dancing that set her curls a-bouncing. For 20th Century Fox, then on the verge of bankruptcy, survival depended on her. In the 1930s, the studio cranked out dozens of films showcasing her dimples and her spunk, and Americans plunked down their precious nickels to forget the Depression and spend a few hours in her delightful company. At the tender age of 10, such hits as Stand Up and Cheer, Little Miss Marker, and Curly Top had made her #1 box office draw 4 years in a row. That record still stands. Her success made it possible for 20th Century Fox to survive to see the 21st century. Such was her power that the Motion Picture Academy awarded her a special Oscar, kid size. She was the movie moppet President Roosevelt called the nation's greatest weapon against the Depression.
Well, if you're of a certain age, you know who that is, the greatest child actor of all time, and it might be argued the most popular movie star ever. Shirley Temple, or Shirley Temple Black, using her married name, and she died recently at the age of 85. We'll tell her story through the ceremony where she was awarded the Screen Actors Guild Lifetime Achievement Award in 2005, presented by Jamie Lee Curtis.
In 1933, Americans may have been standing in bread lines, but they were also lining up at the movies, momentarily escaping their troubles for a ticket costing 2 dimes and a nickel. Movie production thrived during the Great Depression, but no one could have predicted that a brown-eyed, curly-haired child would be the one to send a thunderbolt through the entertainment industry. The only daughter of Gertrude and George Temple, a Santa Monica banker and his wife, Shirley made her screen debut in Baby Burlesques, a series of comedy shorts imitating popular stars of the day, including sex sirens Mae West and Marlene Dietrich.
And you cannot believe me, we sure intend to, but we just couldn't say goodbye.
Signed by 20th Century Fox at age 5, her big break came with Stand Up and Cheer, playing opposite charismatic song and dance man James Dunn. Paramount borrowed her for Little Miss Marker, and overnight she went from starlet to a star.
Look at the funny life and have your fun. It's all a buggy ride, so laugh, it's on the bug on.
In the pictures that followed, she lit up the screen in both comedies and drama, acting, singing, and dancing with Hollywood's best.
Why, everybody's got to go upstairs, Miss Lloyd, if they wants to go to bed.
I don't want to.
Among her co-stars, Bill Bojangles Robinson was her favorite.
Say, you catch on quick.
In an era where racial integration, on screen and off, was almost non-existent, Shirley and Bill led the way, hand in hand and step by step. In 1934, acknowledging her monumental contribution to motion pictures, the Academy presented her with a special miniature Oscar.
Oh, thank you very much, Mr. Cobb. Mommy, can I go home now?
With each new film, the public seemed to adore her more, voting Shirley their favorite movie star 4 years in a row, a record that's never been equaled. Records, magazines, children's clothes, cereal, even a bubbly non-alcoholic drink that's still being served today, all have the Temple trademark, not to mention the sale of 1 million dolls in every shape and size. The press described it as Shirley Mania. After completing Young People, her last film as a child actor, Shirley re-emerged on screen as a teenager, now under contract to David O. Selznick. She showed audiences a new level of maturity and sophistication.
You're new around here.
Yes,
I'm 15.
I'm 17.
That's okay. I like older women.
Retiring from movies in 1949, she found time for a personal life, becoming a devoted wife and mother.
When you've grown up.
She returned to show business on television as host and producer of Shirley Temple's storybook.
You'll often ponder on the years that roll so swiftly by.
When I grow up in a year or 2 or 3.
After her own children were grown, and looking for a new opportunity to make a difference, she pursued local politics, then became a delegate to the United Nations.
I have the honor to present Her Excellency, Mrs. Shirley Temple Black.
She was appointed ambassador to Ghana in 1974, and later, as our country's first woman chief of protocol, she graciously welcomed the world with her open and generous spirit. Her service to America continued as ambassador to Czechoslovakia, a witness to that country's democratic revolution. There's never been anyone like her in attempting to capture her essence and life of achievement that spans more than 7 decades. Perhaps the words of Franklin Delano Roosevelt sum it up best. As long as we have Shirley Temple, we'll be all right.
Oh my word.
Please welcome Jamie Lee Curtis.
When I watched Shirley Temple, there was nothing artificial about her. She was a natural. I believed she was the little princess. I believed she was a Civil War survivor. I believed she was Heidi. And because of her, I even believed there was a Good Ship Lollipop. Shirley, as a representative of the acting community, how proud we all are to count you as one of our own. It is truly one of the honors of my life to be able to stand up here and present you tonight with the Screen Actors Guild Life Achievement Award. Ladies and gentlemen, Shirley Temple Black.
Thank you, Jamie Lee, for that beautiful presentation. I'm indeed honored to receive the Life Achievement Award from my peers, the Screen Actors Guild. When I was 3 years old, I was delighted to be told that I was an actress, even though I didn't know what an actress was. I've been blessed with 3 wonderful careers: motion pictures and television, wife, mother, and grandmother, and diplomatic services for the United States government. Thank you. I'm proud of that, too. About 30 years in the Foreign Service as an honorary Foreign Service officer. I have one piece of advice for those of you who want to receive the Lifetime Achievement Award. Start early. My love to all of you. Thank you for honoring me.
I could tell you all sorts of stories about Shirley Temple. She was almost Dorothy in The Wizard of Oz. She's on the cover of Sgt. Pepper. She got in a big lawsuit with Graham Greene, but I prefer just to play some of her greatest hits. Here's Animal Crackers in My Soup from the 1935 Curly Top.
Animal crackers in my soup, monkeys and rabbits loop-a-loop. Gosh, oh gee, but I have fun swallowing animals one by one. In every bowl of soup I see lions and tigers watching me. I make 'em jump right through those animal crackers in my soup.
Here she sings Polly Wolly Doodle in the 1935 The Littlest Rebel.
Oh, I eat watermelon and I have for years. Sing Polly Wolly Doodle all a day. I like watermelon, but it wets my ears. Sing Polly Wolly Doodle all a day. Baby grass tastes good to a moo cow's mouth. Sing Polly Wolly Doodle all a day. But I like chicken 'cause I'm from the south. Sing Polly Wolly Doodle all a day. Very well,
Farewell,
very well,
farewell.
Mr. Gloom, be on your way. If you think you're gonna worry, you can stop it in a hurry. Sing Polly Wolly Doodle all a day.
It's Bill Robinson she's doing that with. Here's a little bit of her acting from Rebecca of Sunnybrook Farm in 1938.
Please, Mrs. Higgins, please. I'll be good, but don't take Spunky away from me and my poor little duck.
And why not?
Because my pony and my duck are not just ordinary animals. My daddy and my mommy teach them to do tricks on the stage.
And just what is your duck trained to do?
Oh, my duck does a wonderful trick. My duck can lay an egg.
And just what is so wonderful about that?
Well, can you lay an egg?
And when she was a little older, she was in The Bachelor and the Bobby Soxer, which, by the way, was written by Sidney Shelton, and she played with Cary Grant.
Mr. Nugent, my name is Susan Turner. I'm a student here.
No.
Yes, I loved your speech.
Well, nice to have met you, Miss.
But you don't
Turner.
understand. I have to interview you.
You what?
For the high school paper. I'm the editor-in-chief.
Oh.
Shall we go somewhere where we can be alone?
Well, I'd like to, but
You know,
maybe
it
I
isn't
haven't.
every day that we have a famous artist here. I bet you've had a terribly interesting life.
Not very.
Here's film critic Leonard Maltin's take on Shirley Temple. Shirley Temple didn't think of herself as a living legend. By the time I met her, she was happy being a wife, mother, grandmother, and author, with the publication of her fascinating autobiography, Child Star, in 1988. She intended to pen a file chronicling her life as an adult and her career in the diplomatic service, but it never came to fruition. The first time I visited her at her comfortable home in Woodside, California, she disarmed me and my Entertainment Tonight crew by offering us homemade sandwiches. She was the most unpretentious woman I ever met who happened to be world famous. Having just read her book, I was full of questions, and having seen her speak at the Academy of Motion Picture Arts and Sciences in 1985, I hoped to unravel a contradiction. She said that when she was a child, movie making seemed like play, but she proudly proclaimed that she'd been working her whole life. It seemed normal to me, she explained. When you start something at the age of 3, you think that everyone does that. I then asked if there was a particular moment when she realized her life wasn't normal. Yes, she said. It was a crowd in Boston in 1938 and I was 10 years old. That particular crowd had been waiting for me for almost 3 days because I was sick with a high temperature and I'd been in bed. I could hear the crowd down on the street because they were calling, "Shirley, Shirley," and "We love you," and things like that. When I came out of the hotel finally, the crowd suddenly started rushing us. They broke and they started for us, and it was a different kind of feeling. It was an anger and a growl and a hysteria. People in front were getting knocked down and I was worried about the children in front. I'd had a lot of crowds before, but my mother always said at a premiere, "They've come to see all of the stars." And I said, "Well, why are they saying Shirley, Shirley?" She said, "Because your films make them happy." So I didn't really think it was for me until this particular crowd. They were clawing at my legs and they were pulling on my curls and they were taking pieces of my dress. It was a wild scene. Shirley laughed as she described this terrifying moment 50 years later. Perhaps it was because she lived through so much since that time. She had also admitted that going out in public hadn't changed that much. "I do get pitched a lot," she said, laughing again. "Mostly it's women my peer group and older even than I, and I'm old. They tend to want to touch. If I go on a tour, I'll get pinched on the arm, the back, the cheeks, the chin. They say, 'You're so cute,' or 'You were so cute,' they usually say. Then they hang on and I come back home black and blue. It's a hazard." I was also intrigued by her astute child's eye observations of the world around her at 20th Century Fox in the 1930s. She related best to grown-ups who treated her as a colleague and didn't condescend. That applied to co-stars in the endless parade of visiting dignitaries who were taken to meet her. Don't forget, I was so short that I became an expert in belts and shoes and people's hands and handbags. I learned that I liked the working crew the most, more than the stars. I liked the guys that I worked with very, very much. It was my extended family. The crew worked on almost all my films. We had a marvelous time. I had a Shirley Temple police force, and all the crowd and various celebrities joined my force. I was very careful that they kept their badges polished, and if they lost them, there was a big fine. If they gave them away, there was a bigger fine. We had just so much fun. I teased them a lot, particularly the cameramen, who had a lot of trouble with me. I like working class people the best, always have. When I saw work shoes, I would know that person worked. I was very worried about people with shiny, pointy shoes as a child because I felt that they probably weren't worth a great deal. They didn't work hard. It never surprised me that Shirley Temple wound up working for 2 U.S. presidents as a diplomat. She was a diplomat from the age of 5 when she had to smile for a photographer sitting on the laps of visitors she didn't know or care for. That requires the highest level of diplomacy. It also demands a native intelligence, which Shirley possessed from the start. Since the news of her death broke in the wee hours of the morning, I've been asked repeatedly to explain her great popularity. While it's true she lifted people's spirits during the depths of the Great Depression, that doesn't explain why a new generation fell in love with her decades later on television. It wasn't just the golden curls or her singing and dancing. Shirley Temple had that elusive commodity known as star quality. Revisit one of her movies or share one with a child, and you'll see how timeless it is. Unlike some child actors, Shirley Temple had a stable family life while she was growing up. After an ill-advised first marriage, she found happiness with her second husband, Charles Black, and raised a family of her own. I was awfully lucky to have spent some time with her. She was charm personified, a confident woman who was comfortable in her own skin. On my second visit to her home, I got to witness her teaching one of her granddaughters a time step. I'm going to close on that note. I want to thank my producer, Sid Tepps, and there's no question what we close with tonight, one of the iconic performances of the 20th century. Before that, just a little bit of Beach Boys I think of when I think of Shirley Temple.
She's not the little girl. She's not the little girl. She's not the little girl. She's not the little girl.
And here's that masterpiece. 6-year-old Shirley Temple sings and choreographs her own number in the 1934 movie Bright Eyes. It needs no further introduction.
On the good ship Lollipop, it's a sweet trip to a candy shop where bonbons play on the sunny beach of Peppermint Bay. Lemonade stands everywhere, cracker-jack bands fill the air, and there you are, happy landing on a chocolate.